You are staring at a phone screen that just changed your entire week. It is 11:14 on a Tuesday morning, and there is a one-star review sitting on your Google business page with 47 words that feel like a punch to the chest. Took my car here for a simple brake job. They charged me $890 and the squeal came back 2 days later. Called 3 times, nobody picked up. Avoid this place. 47 words. And in the 4 hours since it was posted, 11 people have already clicked helpful. Your hands are greasy. Your back hurts from leaning over a Chevy Silverado engine bay since 7 this morning. There is a customer in the lobby who has been waiting 20 minutes longer than you promised. And your phone buzzes again. A text from Marcus, your lead technician, the guy who bills more hours than anyone else on your team. "Hey boss, need to talk after lunch. Got an offer from the dealer down the road." You set the phone face down on your toolbox. You look around your shop. 4 bays, 3 lifts running, 1 with a seized caliper bolt that nobody can break loose. The air smells like brake cleaner and burnt coffee. There is a stack of parts invoices on the counter that you have not reconciled in 6 days. Your accounts receivable shows $14,200 outstanding. Your rent is due Friday. This is what owning an auto repair shop actually looks like. Not the dream of being your own boss. Not the fantasy of turning wrenches all day on cool cars. This, the review, the text from Marcus, the invoices, the customer in the lobby. This is the daily reality of running a business in a $211 billion industry, where the average independent shop owner takes home less than you might think. But here is the thing you do not know yet, standing in your shop on this terrible Tuesday morning. Within 18 months, this business will be generating $1.4 million in annual revenue. You'll have a team of 6 technicians. Your Google rating will be 4.8 stars with over 400 reviews. And that 1-star review? It will become the single most important thing that ever happened to your business. We will get there. But first, we need to go back to the beginning. 3 open questions before we do. How does a dealership mechanic making $68,000 a year build a shop doing $1.4 million? What is the $47,000 decision that nearly breaks you and then saves you? And what happens when your best technician tells you he is leaving for a competitor? All of that is coming. Let us rewind. 14 months before that Tuesday, you are not a shop owner. You are a master technician at a mid-sized dealership on the outskirts of a growing metro area in the southeast. You have been turning wrenches for 11 years. ASE certified in 8 specialties. You can diagnose a misfire by ear. You can rebuild a transmission in your sleep. You are, by every measure, excellent at fixing cars. And you are miserable. The dealership pays you a flat rate of $26 per flag hour. On a good week, you flag 50 hours and take home $1,300 before taxes. On a bad week, and there are bad weeks, especially when the parts department is backed up or the service writers are not selling, you flag 35 hours and wonder how you are going to cover your mortgage. Your service manager is a guy named Doug, who has never held a wrench in his life. Doug got promoted because he was good at selling extended warranties. Doug's management philosophy is to schedule 8 cars per tech per day, regardless of complexity, and then yell when things fall behind. You have watched 3 good technicians leave in the past 18 months because of Doug. But the thing that finally breaks you is not Doug. It is a Wednesday afternoon in March when you diagnose a coolant leak on a 2021 Honda CR-V. The leak is coming from a cracked reservoir tank. A $45 part, maybe 20 minutes of labor. You write it up honestly. The service writer, following Doug's directive, calls the customer and recommends a full cooling system flush, thermostat replacement, and radiator hose package. Total quote, $1,180. The customer says no. They go to an independent shop down the street. And you realize that you have been part of a system that pushes customers away, and you are tired of it. That night, you sit at your kitchen table with a laptop and a legal pad. You write a number at the top of the legal pad, $180,000. That is what you think it will cost to open a small independent auto repair shop. You will be wrong about that number. It will actually cost you $247,000 by the time everything is said and done. But you do not know that yet. What you do know is this. The average age of a car on American roads in 2026 is 12.8 years. That is the oldest it has ever been. Every year, that number ticks up. The demand for independent auto repair grows. Dealerships are expensive. Quick lube chains are limited in what they can do. The sweet spot, honest, competent, reasonably priced auto repair, is underserved in almost every market. You Google how to start an auto repair shop, and you get 47 million results. The top articles all say the same things. Write a business plan. Find a location. Get licensed. Buy equipment. What none of them tell you, and what you are about to learn the hard way, is that the hardest part of owning an auto repair shop has nothing to do with fixing cars. You close the laptop and sit in the silence of your kitchen for a long time. Your wife is already in bed. The house is dark except for the light above the stove. You do not feel excited. You feel terrified. But underneath the terror there is something else. A certainty, quiet and stubborn, that if you do not do this now, you'll be sitting at that dealership in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, watching other people build the thing you were too afraid to try. That certainty is what carries you through the next 3 months. Not excitement, not confidence, not some entrepreneurial fire, just the stubborn refusal to spend another decade working for Doug. You spend the next 3 months looking at commercial real estate, and you quickly learn something that every auto repair shop owner eventually learns. Zoning is your enemy. Most municipalities have strict zoning requirements for auto repair shops. You cannot just lease any commercial space and start working on cars. You need a property zoned for automotive use, which typically means light industrial or specific commercial automotive zones. In your metro area, there are maybe 40 properties that qualify, and half of them are already occupied by other shops. The first place you look at is a former tire shop on a busy 4-lane road. Great visibility, plenty of traffic. The landlord wants $4,800 per month on a 5-year lease with a personal guarantee. The space has 3 bays, which is fine for starting out, but the roof leaks, the electrical panel is outdated, and the lift pits are designed for old-style in-ground lifts that you do not want. The renovation estimate comes in at $85,000 just for the building, before a single piece of equipment. You keep looking. You find a better space in a light industrial park. Not much street visibility, but it is 3,200 square feet with 4 bays, a small office, a customer waiting area, and a bathroom. The rent is $3,200 per month. The space was previously an auto repair shop that went out of business, which means the zoning is already in place and the floor drains are already installed. You do not ask why the previous shop went out of business. You should have. The answer, which you will discover later, is that the owner tried to run a high-volume oil change operation and destroyed his margins by pricing below cost to attract customers, thinking he would make it up on upsells. He could not. He burned through $120,000 in savings in 9 months and closed. His equipment, 2 lifts, an alignment rack and a tire machine, are still in the building, and the landlord is willing to include them in the lease as an incentive. You sign the lease on a Thursday. Your wife asks if you're sure. You say yes. You are not sure at all. The first night after signing, you cannot sleep. You lie in bed running numbers in your head. $3,200 per month in rent. That is $38,400 per year, just for the building. Before electricity, before equipment, before insurance, before a single customer walks through the door. Every month that passes without revenue is another $3,200 pulled from a finite pool of money. You get up at 4 a.m. and drive to the building. You sit in the parking lot in the dark and look at it. The sign from the previous business is still up. Faded letters that spell out a name nobody remembers. The parking lot has 3 potholes. The security light above the side door flickers intermittently. This is it. This is the thing you are betting everything on. A 3,200 square foot box with a leaky alignment rack and a flickering security light. You feel like throwing up. And also like you have never been more alive. Have you ever made a decision like that? Signed something that locked you in, knowing you are not fully ready? That gap between certainty and commitment is where most businesses either start or never do. Here is where most guides about starting an auto repair shop get vague. They will tell you startup costs range from $50,000 to $500,000, which is about as useful as saying a house costs between $80,000 and $2 million. Let me give you the actual numbers. You take out an SBA 7A loan for $200,000. The process takes 7 weeks, which is faster than average because your credit score is 740 and you have 11 years of W-2 income in the automotive industry. The interest rate is 10.5%, which stings, and the repayment term is 10 years. Your monthly payment will be $2,701. Here is what you spend. Equipment, $88,000. That includes 2 additional lifts. The 2 in the building are serviceable but old. A scan tool package. You go with Autel MaxiSys Ultra, $4,200. A brake lathe, $6,800. A parts washer. Hand tools to supplement your personal set. A compressor, 80-gallon 2-stage. And miscellaneous shop equipment. Technology and software, $8,400 for the first year. Shop management system, $299 per month. Digital vehicle inspection platform, $199 per month. Accounting software, $75 per month. Wi-Fi and networking, 2 tablets for the bays. A customer-facing display for the waiting area. Initial inventory, $12,000 in commonly used parts. Filters, brake pads, rotors, belts, hoses, fluids. You set up accounts with 3 parts suppliers and negotiate net 30 terms. Insurance, $16,000 for the first year. General liability, garage keepers, covers customers' vehicles while in your care. Workers' comp, even though it is just you at first you want it in place, and a commercial umbrella policy. Licenses, permits, and legal, $3,800. Business license, state emissions inspection license, EPA compliance for waste disposal, a lawyer to review your lease and set up your LLC. Build-out and signage, $30,000. New LED lighting, critical, you cannot diagnose accurately in a dark shop. Painting, customer waiting area renovation, exterior signage, and a simple website. Working capital reserve, $68,000. You want roughly 6 months of fixed costs in the bank before you open the doors. Marketing budget for launch, $6,000. Google Business Profile Optimization, a grand opening campaign, 5,000 direct mail pieces to a 3-mile radius, and a small Google Ads budget. Miscellaneous and overruns, $15,000. Because there are always overruns. Total, $247,200. More than the $180,000 you planned for. The difference comes from the equipment being more expensive than you estimated, the insurance being higher than you expected, and the build-out having complications with electrical and plumbing that you did not anticipate. You invest $50,000 of your own savings and borrow $200,000 through the SBA loan. When you open the doors for the first time, you owe $200,000 to the bank, and you have a monthly fixed cost structure of approximately $11,400. Loan payment, rent, insurance, software, utilities. That means you need to generate at least $11,400 per month in gross profit before you pay yourself a single dollar. What happens to a mechanic who suddenly has to think in terms of gross profit margins instead of flag hours? It is a different universe, and you are about to find out exactly how different. You spend the last 2 weeks before opening doing the build-out yourself, every evening after your dealership shift. You gave 2 weeks' notice, but Doug made it clear he did not care if you stayed or not. You rewire outlets, you mount the new LED light fixtures, you build shelves in the parts room from plywood and 2x4s. You paint the customer waiting area a clean grey-blue that your wife picked from a Sherwin-Williams sample card. The night before opening, you stand in the shop alone. The lifts are up, the compressor is humming, the floor is clean, the tools are organized. It smells like fresh paint and solvent. Your phone has 4 missed calls from the electrical inspector who needs to come back for a final sign-off. Your credit cards are maxed. Your savings account reads $2,140. You turn off the lights and lock the door. Tomorrow, it begins. You open on a Monday in June. You have told everyone you know. You have posted on social media. You have handed out business cards at every gas station, car wash, and parts store within 5 miles. Your wife has shared your grand opening post in every local Facebook group she belongs to. On your first day, you get 2 cars, a 2018 Toyota Camry with a check engine light, evap leak, loose gas cap. You do not charge for this, you just tighten the cap and reset the code, hoping the goodwill brings the customer back. And a 2020 Ford F-150 with a brake noise. The brake job takes you 3 hours because you are working alone and you keep having to stop to answer the phone, greet walk-ins who are just curious about the new shop, and deal with a parts delivery that shows up with the wrong rotors. You bill $380 for the brake job. Your parts cost is $142. Your labor revenue is $238 at your posted rate of $110 per hour. Your gross profit on that single job after parts, is $238. On your first day of business, you made $238. Your fixed costs for that day are approximately $380, $11,400 monthly divided by 30. You are underwater by $142 on day one. Welcome to the auto repair business. The first month is brutal. You average 3 to 4 cars per day. Your total revenue for June is $18,200. Your total expenses, including parts cost, are $16,800. Your net profit for the month is $1,400. You pay yourself nothing. Your wife picks up extra shifts at her job. You eat a lot of peanut butter sandwiches in the shop. You tell yourself it will get better. The data says it will. Most independent shops do not hit break-even until month 4 to 6. But knowing the statistics and living them are very different things. Here is what saves you in those first 90 days. You are genuinely good at fixing cars, and you are honest about it. When a 2017 Hyundai Elantra comes in with a P0420 catalyst efficiency code, you do not immediately sell a $1,200 catalytic converter. You check for exhaust leaks first. You find a cracked exhaust manifold bolt that is letting air in before the downstream O2 sensor. You fix the leak for $280. The customer, a single mom with 2 car seats in the back, almost cries with relief. She tells her sister. Her sister tells a co-worker. The co-worker tells her neighbor. This is how an auto repair shop actually grows. Not through Google ads or direct mail, but through word of mouth from people who feel like they were treated fairly. By the end of month 2, you are averaging 5 cars per day. By month 3, 6. Your revenue in August hits $31,400. You pay yourself $2,000 for the first time. It is not enough to live on, but it is a start. But you are burning out. You are the only technician, the service writer, the parts orderer, the bookkeeper, the janitor, and the marketing department. You are working 12-hour days, 6 days a week. Your phone rings at 7 in the morning and at 9 at night. You have not had a day off in 43 days. You need help. And that is when you discover the single biggest problem facing the auto repair industry in 2026. But before we get to that crisis, let me paint the picture of what your average day looks like in month 3, because nobody talks about this part. You arrive at the shop at 6:30 a.m. You brew coffee in a Mr. Coffee machine that you bought from a thrift store for $7. By 6:45, you are reviewing the day's appointments in your shop management system. There are 6 cars scheduled. 2 are oil changes, low skill, low margin, but they get people in the door. 1 is a check engine light diagnosis. 1 is a brake job. 1 is a coolant leak. And 1 is a weird noise, the customer's exact words. Weird noise is the most common chief complaint in auto repair and the vaguest, and it could mean anything from a loose heat shield to a failing wheel bearing to a piece of gravel stuck in a tire tread. The first car drops off at 7:15. The customer hands you the keys and says, "It just needs an oil change, but can you also look at the brakes? They feel soft." You know what this means. The oil change is the appointment. The brakes are the real reason they came. They are testing you, using the cheap service to see if you are honest before they commit to the expensive one. You change the oil. You inspect the brakes. The front pads are at 4 millimeters, below the recommended 3 mm replacement threshold, but not yet metal on metal. The rotors have light grooves but are above minimum thickness. The brake fluid is dark, suggesting it has not been flushed in years. Now you have a decision. You could sell the brake job today, pads, rotors and fluid flush, roughly $680. The pads are getting low. The rotors are not great. It would not be dishonest. Or you could tell the truth. The brakes have some life left. Monitor them. Come back in 3 months or 5,000 miles, whichever comes first. Revenue today, $52 oil change. You tell the truth. The customer looks at you like nobody has ever done that before, because at their last job, nobody did. That customer becomes a lifer. They come back for everything. They refer their parents, their co-worker, their neighbor. The $52 oil change turns into $4,200 in lifetime customer value. You do not know this yet. You just know that you slept well that night. There are not enough automotive technicians in America. This is not an exaggeration or a talking point. It is a documented, measurable crisis. Industry workforce groups estimate the sector needs roughly 100,000 new technicians per year just to keep pace with retirements and attrition. Technical schools and apprenticeship programs are producing a fraction of that. The reasons are straightforward. Young people do not want to be mechanics. The work is physically demanding. The tools are expensive. A journeyman-level tool set costs $30,000 to $60,000. And the cultural message for the past 20 years has been that everyone should go to college. The average age of an automotive technician in the US is 42 and climbing. What this means for you, a shop owner trying to hire your first technician, is that you are competing against every dealership, every chain, and every other independent shop in your market for a shrinking pool of candidates. And those candidates know they have options. You post a job listing on Indeed. You offer $25 per hour plus a tool allowance, which is competitive for your market. You get 14 applications. You interview 7. 3 of them cannot pass a basic diagnostic competency test that you put together. They can change oil and rotate tires, but they cannot read a wiring diagram or use a scan tool beyond pulling codes. 2 of them are competent but want $32 per hour, which would break your labor cost structure at your current car count. 1 of them is perfect. 5 years of experience, ASE certified in brakes, electrical, and engine performance. Great attitude. But he wants to work 4 10s, 4 10-hour days per week, and you need coverage Monday through Saturday. The last one is Marcus. Marcus is 28 years old. He has been working at a Midas franchise for 3 years. He is not ASE certified yet, but he is studying for it. He is hungry, reliable, and willing to work. You offer him $24 per hour with a $2 raise after 90 days if he gets his first ASE certification. He takes it. Marcus shows up on his first day with a basic Craftsman toolset and a willingness to learn. Within 2 weeks, you realize he is faster than you expected. Within a month, he is handling brake jobs, suspension work, and basic engine diagnostics on his own. You can finally step out of the bay and start spending time on the parts of the business you have been neglecting: marketing, customer follow-up, financial management. Your car count jumps from 6 per day to 9. Revenue in month 5 hits $48,000. You pay yourself $3,500. You are still not making what you made at the dealership, but the trend is moving in the right direction. And then you discover something that nobody warned you about. Managing people is harder than diagnosing a no-start condition on a German car with 17 control modules. Let me put it this way. When a car breaks, the problem is logical. It follows the laws of physics and engineering: fuel, air, spark, compression. If one is missing, you find it and fix it. There is always a root cause. There is always a solution. The car does not have feelings. The car does not have a bad day. The car does not show up late because its girlfriend broke up with it last night. People are not cars, and the sooner a shop owner figures that out, the better off they are. At the dealership, you never had to manage anyone. You showed up, you flagged hours, you went home. Decisions about scheduling, customer disputes, parts ordering, and workflow were someone else's problem. Now they are all your problem. Marcus is a good technician, but he has habits from his Midas days that drive you crazy. He does not torque lug nuts with a torque wrench. He uses an impact gun and calls it close enough. He leaves tools on the floor. He takes 45-minute lunches when you give him 30. These are small things individually, but they compound. You have never had to give anyone corrective feedback before. The first time you tell Marcus he needs to use a torque wrench on every wheel, he gets defensive. "I've been doing it this way for 3 years and never had a wheel come off," he says. And he is not wrong. He has not had a wheel come off. But you know that the industry standard is 80 to 100 foot-pounds of torque applied in a star pattern, and you know that one loose wheel lawsuit could end your business. You learn that managing a technician is not about being right. It is about explaining why something matters. You show Marcus the liability exposure. You show him the insurance clause that specifically mentions proper torque procedures. You buy a nice snap-on torque wrench and tell him it is his to keep as long as he uses it. He starts using it. This pattern repeats with every operational challenge. You cannot just tell people what to do. You have to sell them on why, give them the tools to do it, and then follow up to make sure it sticks. This is management, and it is a skill that has nothing to do with fixing cars. By month 8, you hire a second technician, Darren, a semi-retired guy who works 3 days a week and mostly handles oil changes, tire rotations, and basic maintenance. Darren is slow but meticulous. He never misses a step. He is perfect for the bread and butter work that keeps the bays moving. Your car count is now averaging 11 per day across 3 technicians, including yourself. Revenue is steady at $55,000 to $60,000 per month. Your parts cost runs about 35% of revenue. Your labor cost, including Marcus and Darren, is about 28% of revenue. Your fixed costs are $11,400 per month. Your gross profit margin on labor is sitting at about 62%, which is below the industry target of 65 to 70%. You need to raise your labor rate. But raising your labor rate means potentially losing customers, and you are terrified of losing customers because you remember those first 90 days when the phone did not ring. This is the trap that kills more independent shops than anything else. Pricing based on fear instead of math. Let me walk you through the math that changes your mind. Your loaded labor cost. What it actually costs you per hour to have a technician available, including wages, payroll taxes, workers' comp, benefits, and non-productive time, is approximately $38 per hour. You are charging customers $110 per hour. That gives you a gross margin on labor of 65.5%. That sounds decent, but there is a problem. Your effective labor rate is not $110. Your effective labor rate is what you actually collect per hour billed, which accounts for warranty work, you do not charge for that, diagnostic time that you do not bill fully, you frequently eat half hours on diagnosis, and discounts that you give to loyal customers. When you run the numbers, your effective labor rate is $94 per hour. At $94 effective and $38 loaded cost, your real gross margin on labor is 59.6%. The target for a healthy, independent shop is 65 to 70%. You are leaving money on the table. Approximately $3,800 per month based on your current hours billed. You raise your posted labor rate from $110 to $125 per hour. This is a 13.6% increase. You agonize over it for 2 weeks before making the change. You are convinced you will lose half your customers. Here is what actually happens. You lose 3 customers. 3 out of approximately 300 active customer accounts. One of them tells you on the phone that your prices are ridiculous. You check his service history. Over the past year, he has spent $340 at your shop, all on oil changes that you are pricing at barely above cost to attract traffic. He was your least profitable customer. The other 297 customers either do not notice or do not care. Because here is the thing about auto repair pricing that takes most shop owners years to understand. Customers do not choose their mechanic based on labor rate. They choose based on trust. If they trust you, $125 per hour is fine. If they do not trust you, $80 per hour is too much. Your revenue jumps. In the first full month at the new rate, you bring in $64,000 with roughly the same car count. Your gross margin on labor climbs to 66.4%. You finally start paying yourself a salary that matches what you made at the dealership. Plus, you are building equity in a business. But that pricing adjustment? That was the easy problem. The hard one is coming. If labor is the engine of an auto repair shop's profitability, parts are the transmission, essential but constantly under pressure. Here is how parts pricing works in the auto repair industry. You buy parts at wholesale and mark them up to retail. The traditional markup is somewhere between 40% and 60% over cost. So if you buy a set of brake pads for $35, you sell them for $49 to $56. That markup covers your cost of ordering, receiving, storing, and handling the parts, plus the risk of returns and warranty claims. In 2026, that model is under assault from 2 directions. First, parts prices have been climbing steadily. Supply chain disruptions that started during the pandemic years never fully resolved. Add in new tariff pressures on imported components, and the cost of replacement parts has increased 18 to 22% over the past 3 years. A water pump that cost you $65 in 2023 now costs $79. A set of struts that was $180 is now $220. You can pass those increases to customers, and you do, but there is a ceiling. When a customer sees a $1,400 estimate for struts and an alignment, they start Googling. They find the parts on Amazon for $340. They do not understand that Amazon parts are often lower quality aftermarket units without a warranty, or that the price does not include the 3 hours of labor and the alignment. All they see is the price gap. Second, there is a growing trend of customers buying their own parts and asking you to install them. This is a nightmare for shop owners. When a customer brings their own parts, you lose the parts margin entirely, which can be 30 to 40% of the total job revenue. You also assume liability for parts you did not source, cannot verify the quality of, and cannot warranty. If that Amazon water pump fails at 8,000 miles and the engine overheats, the customer is coming back to you, not to Amazon. You develop a policy. You will install customer-supplied parts, but at a 20% higher labor rate, with no warranty on the parts. Most customers, when they hear that, choose to let you source the parts. The ones who insist on bringing their own parts are usually the ones who are going to haggle over everything anyway. But the bigger issue is that 46% of shop owners, in a recent industry survey, identified finding affordable parts and dealing with rising prices as their number one challenge. And you are one of them. You join a buying group, a cooperative of independent shops that pools purchasing power to negotiate better wholesale pricing. The buying group gets you an average of 8% better pricing on the top 50 parts you order most frequently. That 8% adds up to about $1,100 per month in savings. You also start paying closer attention to your parts-to-labor ratio. In a healthy shop, parts should be 40 to 50% of total revenue, with labor making up the rest. If parts are creeping above 50%, it means you are either underbilling labor or over-ordering parts. You track this weekly. It becomes one of your key performance indicators, right alongside car count and average repair order. What is your single biggest operating expense right now? And do you know exactly what percentage of revenue it represents? Most business owners cannot answer that question off the top of their head. The ones who can are the ones who survive. There is one more thing about parts that nobody tells you when you open a shop. You will develop strong opinions about brands. You will become a Moog guy, or a Raybestos guy, or a Motorcraft guy. Your opinions will be based on warranty claim rates, fitment issues, and which parts supplier's delivery driver does not throw boxes at your door. These opinions will be deeply held and completely irrational to anyone outside the industry. You will also learn which cars are profitable to work on and which ones are not. Japanese cars, Toyota, Honda, Subaru, are your bread and butter. Parts are widely available, the engineering is logical, and the repair procedures are well documented. German cars, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, Volkswagen, are more complex, require more specialized tools, and the parts cost twice as much. But you can charge accordingly, and the margins are excellent if you know what you're doing. American trucks, Ford F-150, Chevy Silverado, Ram 1500 are the volume play. There are millions of them on the road. They're constantly in the shop for brakes, suspension, and engine work, and the parts are affordable. A well-run shop in truck country can build an entire business on domestic pickup maintenance alone. The cars you learn to avoid are the European luxury vehicles with expired warranties, older Range Rovers, Jaguars, high-mileage BMWs. The repair costs are astronomical. The parts take days to arrive, and the customers who own these cars are often the most price-sensitive because they bought the car used for a fraction of its original price and are shocked by the repair bills. A 7-year-old Range Rover that someone bought for $28,000 still has $4,000 repair bills, and explaining that to the owner is a conversation that never ends well. 9 months into running your shop, you're doing something that would have made the old you cringe. You are spending more time looking at a computer screen than looking under a hood. It starts with digital vehicle inspections. Your shop management system has a DVI module that lets your technicians take photos and videos during every inspection and send them directly to the customer's phone. Before DVIs, your sales process looked like this. Tech finds a problem, writes it on a paper inspection form, hands it to you, the service writer, because you cannot afford a dedicated one yet. You call the customer and try to describe the problem over the phone, and the customer either says yes or no based on how well you explained it and how much they trust you. With DVIs, the process looks like this. Marcus slides under a 2019 RAV4 and sees that the rear brake pads are at 2 millimeters. He takes a photo showing the pad next to a new pad for comparison. He takes a video of the corroded brake caliper slide pin. He notes that the rotors are below minimum thickness. All of this goes into the DVI, which automatically generates a text message to the customer with the photos, videos, and a recommended service list with pricing. The customer sees exactly what you see. They are not guessing. They are not wondering if you are making it up. They can show the photos to their spouse, their neighbor who knows cars, or their brother-in-law, the mechanic. The transparency builds trust at a speed that no amount of phone conversations ever could. Your average repair order before DVIs was $340. Within 3 months of implementing them, it climbs to $465. That is a 37% increase. And it is not because you are selling work that is not needed. It is because you are showing work that was always needed, but that customers were declining because they could not see it. The data backs this up across the industry. Repair orders with visual evidence average $160 versus $103 for those without. You are seeing even better numbers because Marcus is surprisingly good at taking photos. He has a natural eye for showing the contrast between a worn part and a new one. The technology investment goes further. You start tracking declined services in your shop management system. When a customer declines a recommendation today, you flag it. In 60 days, your system automatically sends a follow-up text. Hi Sarah, 3 months ago we noted your front tires were at 4/32 seconds tread depth. We recommend replacing them before the wet season. Would you like to schedule? Your declined service recapture rate runs at about 22%, which means nearly 1 in 4 customers who said no eventually comes back and says yes. Your customer retention rate, which was around 30% in your first 6 months, climbs to 48% by month 12. For context, the industry average for independent shops is about 30 to 35%. Top-performing shops hit 55 to 60%. You are headed in the right direction. But the technology is only as good as the person using it. And that brings us to the hire that changes everything. At month 10, you make the most important hiring decision of your business life. You are not hiring another technician. You are hiring a service advisor. Her name is Jessica. She has no automotive background. She was a hotel front desk manager for 6 years. She is organized, empathetic, patient with frustrated people, and she has a voice that makes customers feel like they are the most important person in the room, which In your business, they are. You train Jessica on the basics: what a brake pad is, what a timing belt does, how to read a DVI, how to build an estimate in the shop management system. She does not need to know how to fix cars. She needs to know how to communicate with the people who own them. The impact is immediate and dramatic. Before Jessica, you were pulling yourself out of the bay 6 or 8 times a day to answer phones, write up estimates, and talk to customers. Every time you left the bay, production stopped. Every time production stopped, you lost billable hours. You estimated that you were losing approximately $400 per day in lost production from the constant context switching. With Jessica handling the front of the house, you stay in the bay. Marcus stays in the bay. Darren stays in the bay. Production goes up by nearly 30%. Your car count, which had plateaued at 11 per day, jumps to 14 within 6 weeks. Revenue in month 12 hits $78,000. Jessica also does something you never thought to do. She follows up with every customer within 48 hours of their visit. A simple text. "Hi, this is Jessica from the shop. Just wanted to make sure everything is running well after your service yesterday. Let us know if you have any questions." Simple, human, effective. Your 5-star Google reviews start climbing by 8 to 10 per month. Jessica costs you $19 per hour, plus a small bonus tied to customer satisfaction scores. She is the best $19 per hour you have ever spent. Here is something that took you a year to learn, but that every successful shop owner eventually figures out. The person answering your phone and greeting your customers is more important to your revenue than the person turning the wrench. A great technician with a terrible front counter will lose to an average technician with a great front counter every single time. Because customers do not evaluate technical competence. They cannot. They evaluate the experience. And the experience starts and ends with the person they talk to. Now we're back to that Tuesday morning, month 13, the 1-star review. You read it again. "Took my car here for a simple brake job. They charged me $890 and the squeal came back 2 days later. Called 3 times. Nobody picked up. Avoid this place." Your instinct is to fire back. To explain that the brake job was not simple, the vehicle had corroded caliper brackets that needed to be replaced, which is why the price was $890 instead of $450. To point out that the customer approved the estimate before you started the work. To note that the squeal they are hearing is probably the new pad break-in period, which you explained at pickup. Jessica stops you. "Do not respond right now," she says. "You are angry. Give it an hour." You wait an hour. Then Jessica drafts a response that you both review. "Thank you for your feedback. We are sorry to hear about the brake noise and that you had difficulty reaching us. We would love the opportunity to re-inspect your vehicle at no charge. Please call Jessica directly to schedule a time that works for you. We stand behind our work and want to make this right." The customer calls. They come in. Marcus inspects the brakes and finds that one of the new brake pads has a manufacturing defect. A small piece of friction material is chipped, causing the squeal. It is a parts warranty issue. You replace the pad at no charge, which takes 12 minutes. The customer leaves. 2 days later, they update their review to 4 stars. "They made it right, called me back personally, and fixed the issue for free," giving them another chance. What you learn from this experience changes how you think about customer complaints forever. That one-star review was not an attack, it was information. The customer had a legitimate issue, defective pad, a legitimate frustration, could not reach you by phone, and a legitimate emotional response, feeling ignored and overcharged. Every piece of that feedback pointed to something you could fix. The phone issue. You discover that your phone system has been sending calls to voicemail after 3 rings during peak hours because all lines are busy. You add a second phone line and set up a text-back autoresponder for missed calls. Sorry we missed your call. A team member will return your call within 2 hours. This alone reduces your missed call complaint rate to nearly 0. The pricing communication. You update your estimate process to include a line-by-line breakdown that compares original quoted work to any additional findings, with photos from the DVI attached. The customer can see exactly why the price is what it is before you start. The quality control. You implement a final inspection checklist. Before any car leaves the shop, someone other than the tech who did the work does a quick visual and functional check. It adds 5 minutes per car. It eliminates 90% of comebacks. Within 3 months of implementing these changes, your Google rating climbs from 4.4 to 4.7 stars. Within 6 months, it is at 4.8, with over 400 reviews. New customer acquisition from Google alone goes from about 15 per month to 28 per month. That one-star review cost you nothing. The changes it inspired made you tens of thousands of dollars. There is a broader lesson here about the auto repair industry and reputation. In 2026, your Google business profile is your storefront. Before a customer ever calls you, they have already read your reviews, looked at your photos, checked your hours, and compared your rating to the 3 other shops within a 5-mile radius. A shop with 50 reviews and 4.8 stars will get 3 times the call volume of a shop with 10 reviews at 4.5 stars. The math on reviews is simple but relentless. The average customer tells 1 person about a good experience. They tell 11 people about a bad one. Online, those ratios are even more extreme. A negative review lives forever and is seen by hundreds of potential customers. A positive review fades into the aggregate. This is why Jessica's 48-hour callback is so valuable. It does not just generate reviews. It intercepts complaints before they go public. When a customer is unhappy, they have a choice. They can call you and give you a chance to fix it, or they can go online and tell the world. Jessica's callback makes the first option easier than the second. It turns potential 1-star reviews into private conversations. And private conversations you can solve. Your competitors, the ones who do not follow up, who do not respond to reviews, who treat their Google profile as an afterthought, are handing you customers every single day. Not because your work is better than theirs, though it might be, because your experience is better. And in a trust-based business, experience is everything. Hey boss, need to talk after lunch. Got an offer from the dealer down the road. Here it is, the moment every shop owner dreads. Your best technician, the one who flags more hours than anyone else, the one customers ask for by name, is sitting across from you in the office, telling you that the Honda dealership 2 miles away offered him $30 per hour flat rate, a $3,000 signing bonus, and health insurance. You are currently paying Marcus $26 per hour. You cannot match the health insurance. You're too small to get a group plan at a reasonable rate. The signing bonus is cash you do not have sitting around. And $30 per hour flat rate at a dealership with a steady car count is a real number. Your stomach drops. If Marcus leaves, your production capacity drops by 35%. You will have to go back into the bay full-time, which means pulling yourself off the management and customer-facing work that has been driving your growth. You will lose the momentum that took you 13 months to build. Here is what you do. You ask Marcus one question. What would make you stay? He thinks about it. He does not say money first, which surprises you. He says, I want to feel like I'm building something here, not just working for someone. I want to know where this is going. So you tell him. You tell him that your revenue has grown from $18,000 in month 1 to $78,000 in month 12. You tell him your plan to add 2 more bays next year. You tell him that you want to promote him to lead technician with a pay bump to $29 per hour, a performance bonus tied to shop profitability, 2% of net profit above a threshold paid quarterly, and the commitment that when you are ready to add a second location, he is the guy you want running the technical side. You also offer him something the dealership cannot: flexibility. Marcus's wife is expecting their first child. You tell him that when the baby comes, he can take 2 weeks off, paid, and that you will work with him on his schedule after that. Marcus stays. Not because you outbid the dealership, you did not. He stays because you offered him a future, not just a paycheck. And because he trusts you in a way that he will never trust a service manager named Doug. This is the cheat code for the technician shortage. You cannot compete with dealerships on compensation packages, but you can compete on culture, flexibility, and upward mobility. The shops that figure this out keep their people. The shops that try to win on hourly rate alone are in a permanent revolving door. 2 months after the conversation with Marcus, you post his first quarterly bonus check. It is $1,840. He frames the stub and puts it on his toolbox. You know he is not going anywhere. Back to that terrible Tuesday. The third blow after the review and Marcus's text. The $47,000 equipment bill. Your alignment rack is dying. It is original to the space, installed in 2019, used hard by the previous owner and neglected. The heads are out of calibration, the turntables are stiff, and the software has not been updated since 2022. You have been nursing it along, but last week it gave a 2024 Kia Telluride an alignment reading that was clearly wrong, showing toe-in on both sides when the car was obviously pulling right. You had to redo the alignment by feel and then send the customer to a dealer to verify your work. That cost you the labor, the dealer's fee, and some credibility. A new alignment system from Hunter Engineering, the industry standard, costs $47,000 installed. That includes the rack, the heads, the software, and the installation. You could go with a lesser brand for $28,000, but your parts rep, who used to be a shop owner himself, tells you plainly, buy the Hunter. You will have it for 15 years, and it will pay for itself in 2. You do not have $47,000. Your line of credit has $22,000 available. You could finance it through Hunter directly, but the payments would be $890 per month for 60 months. You run the numbers. Your shop currently does about 6 alignments per week at $89.95 each. That is $2,158 per month in alignment revenue. With a new Accurate machine, you estimate you could do 10 per week because you could start offering alignments as part of suspension work packages, tire sales, if you add that service, and pre-purchase inspections. At 10 per week, that is $3,598 per month in alignment revenue, against $890 in equipment payments. The math works, but writing the purchase order for $47,000 when you've been in business for 13 months and your total accumulated net profit is around $68,000 feels reckless. You buy it anyway. And then something unexpected happens. The new Hunter alignment system has a feature called ADAS calibration capability. ADAS, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, includes lane departure warning, automatic emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, and all the other electronic safety systems that modern cars have. When you do suspension work, wheel replacement, or windshield replacement on a car with ADAS, those systems often need to be recalibrated. Dealers charge $300 to $500 for ADAS calibration. Most independent shops cannot do it because they do not have the equipment. Now you can. You start marketing ADAS calibration services. You charge $249, which undercuts the dealers by 25 to 50%. Word spreads. Body shops in the area start sending you their ADAS calibration work because they do not want to invest in the equipment themselves. Within 4 months, ADAS calibration alone is generating $3,200 per month in revenue at nearly 85% gross margin. The $47,000 alignment system is not just paying for itself. It has become a profit center and a competitive advantage. Sometimes the thing that scares you most is the thing you need most. It is month 16 and you are at an industry conference, AAPEX, in Las Vegas, the biggest aftermarket automotive trade show in the world. You are walking the floor looking at tools and equipment, and every third booth is about electric vehicles. EV this, EV that. The future is electric. Invest now or get left behind. You look at the numbers. In 2026, EVs represent about 7% of new car sales in the United States. The installed base of EVs on the road is about 5 million out of 290 million registered vehicles. That is under 2% of the cars on the road. Meanwhile, the average car on the road is 12.8 years old and getting older. The cars that are keeping your shop busy, 2012 to 2020 model year gasoline and diesel vehicles, are going to need repairs for another decade or more. The EV tidal wave is coming, but it is still a wave on the horizon, not in your bay. And yet, only 3% of automotive technicians are currently proficient in EV maintenance and repair. Certification programs cost $2,000 to $5,000 per technician. The equipment needed to safely service high-voltage systems, insulated tools, a battery lift, diagnostic software for EV-specific systems, runs another $15,000 to $25,000. You do the calculation that every forward-thinking shop owner is doing right now. If you invest today, you'll be one of the few independent shops in your market that can service EVs when the out-of-warranty wave hits. The first large cohort of mass-market EVs, the 2020 to 2022 models, will start coming off warranty in the next year or two. Those customers will need somewhere to go, and the dealer is expensive. You make a decision. You are going to invest, but incrementally. You send Marcus to a week-long EV Service Fundamentals course, $3,200 including travel. You buy a basic set of insulated tools and a battery disconnect kit, $2,800. You get your shop certified for basic EV maintenance, tire rotations, brake service. EVs still have friction brakes, they just last longer due to regenerative braking, suspension work, and HVAC service. You do not go all in. You do not buy a $40,000 battery diagnostic system or a high-voltage battery lift. Not yet. But you are positioning yourself so that when the demand arrives, you are not starting from zero. This incremental approach is what the smartest independent shop owners in the country are doing. They are not ignoring EVs. They are not panicking about EVs. They are preparing for EVs at a pace that matches the actual market timeline, not the hype cycle. The EV transition is real, but it is happening in automotive time, not Silicon Valley time. The internal combustion engine will be the bread and butter of independent auto repair shops for at least another 15 years. The key is to be ready for the transition without betting the business on it before the market is there. How are you preparing for the next big shift in your own industry? Because every industry has one coming, and the ones who invest incrementally before the wave hits are the ones who ride it instead of getting crushed by it. Month 18. You look at your trailing 12-month revenue and the number stuns you. $814,000. You are not at $1 million yet, but you can see it from here. The growth has come from a combination of factors that compounded on each other. Car count, averaging 16 per day across 4 bays. That is an 80% utilization rate on a 3-technician plus you shop. Average repair order, $465, up from $340 in month 6. DV is better communication, and Jessica's follow-up process have all contributed. Customer retention. 52% of your revenue comes from repeat customers. The industry average is 30 to 35%. Your Google review count is at 412 reviews, with a 4.8-star average. New revenue streams. ADAS calibration, $3,200 per month. Fleet maintenance contracts with 2 local businesses, $4,800 per month. And a partnership with a mobile mechanic who handles your overflow and pays you a 15% referral fee. Labor efficiency. Your effective labor rate has climbed to $118 per hour. Posted rate, $125. Marcus is billing 42 hours per week in a 45-hour work week, which is a 93% productivity rate. Industry average is around 85%. But the math also reveals something uncomfortable. You're approaching the ceiling of what 4 bays can produce. At $125 per hour and 16 cars per day, your theoretical maximum revenue is about $1.1 million per year. To get past that, you need more bays, which means either expanding your current location or opening a second one. Your landlord has an adjacent unit, 2,400 square feet. He is willing to lease it to you and allow you to cut a pass-through between the spaces. The expansion would give you 3 additional bays, a larger waiting area, and a dedicated parts room. The build-out estimate is $62,000. The additional rent is $2,200 per month. You run the numbers. 3 additional bays assuming 70% utilization, and $125 per hour, would generate approximately $39,000 per month in additional labor revenue. Against additional rent, $2,200, 2 new technicians, $10,400 in wages, and additional parts and overhead, $6,000, the net contribution would be approximately $20,400 per month. You sign the expansion lease. Construction starts in month 20. During the build-out, which takes 6 weeks, you lose 1 bay to construction access. Revenue dips. You stress. Jessica tells you to breathe. The expanded shop opens with 7 bays in month 22. You hire 2 new technicians, one from a job fair at a local technical college, entry level, $20 per hour, you will train him, and 1 experienced tech from a retiring shop owner who is closing down, mid-level, $27 per hour, already ASE certified in 4 areas. Month 24, your revenue hits $117,000 in a single month. Annualized, that is $1.4 million. You have 6 technicians plus yourself, though you are spending less and less time in the bay. Jessica has an assistant. Your payroll is $38,000 per month. Your rent is $5,400. Your total fixed costs are $19,800 per month. Your net profit margin is 14.2%. On $1.4 million in revenue, that is $198,800 in annual net profit. After 2 years of grinding, you are making more than double what you made at the dealership, and you own a business that has real, tangible value. If you sold your shop tomorrow, and shops do sell, the valuation would be approximately 2.5 to 3.5 times annual net profit plus equipment value. That puts your business value somewhere between $550,000 and $750,000. You built that from a legal pad and a $200,000 SBA loan. Looking back, you can identify 5 specific systems that made the difference between surviving and thriving. Digital vehicle inspections, not optional, not a nice-to-have, fundamental. The transparency they create builds trust at a pace that nothing else can match. Your data shows that jobs with DVIs have a 34% higher approval rate than jobs without. Declined service tracking and follow-up. Every declined recommendation is future revenue. Your automated follow-up sequence recaptures 22% of declines within 90 days. On $18,000 per month in declined services, that is $3,960 in recaptured revenue, every month, on autopilot. The 48-hour callback. Jessica's post-service check-in does 3 things. It catches problems before they become complaints. It generates reviews, and it makes customers feel valued. The cost is maybe 90 minutes of Jessica's time per day. The return is immeasurable. Weekly KPI tracking. Every Monday morning, you look at 5 numbers: car count, average repair order, effective labor rate, parts to labor ratio, and gross profit margin. If any of those numbers drift more than 10% from target, you investigate. This takes 20 minutes. It prevents problems that would otherwise take weeks to detect and months to fix. Written SOPs for everything. How to answer the phone. How to write an estimate. How to perform a quality check. How to handle a complaint. How to close out a repair order. These are not complicated documents, most are 1 page, but they ensure that the shop operates consistently whether you are there or not. The day you realize the shop can run without you for a week is the day you stop being a mechanic who owns a shop and start being a business owner who employs mechanics. These 5 systems did not require genius. They did not require expensive consultants or an MBA. They required discipline and the willingness to admit that being great at fixing cars does not automatically make you great at running a business that fixes cars. Your P&L statement says you made $198,800 last year. Your balance sheet shows a business worth over $500,000. From the outside, it looks like a success story. From the inside, it looks like this. You gained 22 pounds in your first year because you ate convenience food at your desk instead of real meals. You have since lost 15 of them, but your blood pressure is still higher than it should be. Your marriage almost buckled in month 6 when you were working 70-hour weeks and coming home too exhausted to have a conversation. You and your wife went to 3 sessions of couples counseling, which you paid for out of pocket because you did not have health insurance at the time. It helped, mostly because it forced you to have the conversations you had been avoiding. You missed your daughter's school play in month 4 because a car on the lift had a brake line start leaking and you could not leave it. She said she understood. You are not sure she did. There was a 2-week period in month 9 when you seriously considered closing the shop and going back to the dealership. Your bank account was at $4,200 and you had $11,400 in bills due. You made it through because a fleet customer paid a $6,800 invoice 2 days early. If that payment had been late, you would have bounced your rent check. You have had 3 anxiety attacks, real ones, with chest tightness and shortness of breath, and the feeling that everything is falling apart. The first time, you thought you were having a heart attack. You drove yourself to an urgent care clinic. The doctor told you it was stress. He prescribed something to take the edge off. You never filled the prescription. You probably should have. This is the part of owning a business that the startup guides and YouTube videos do not show. The financial risk is real, but the emotional and physical cost is where the real price gets paid. It is not impossible. It is not insurmountable. But it needs to be said plainly. This is hard. And pretending it is not would be dishonest. What got you through it? 2 things. 1, you genuinely love what you do. Not every day, not every hour, but at the core, you love diagnosing a weird noise and finding the cause. You love the look on a customer's face when you show them the photo of what was wrong and explain what you did to fix it. You love walking through the shop at 6 p.m. after everyone has left and seeing the tools put away and the floors swept and knowing that you built this. 2, you got better at asking for help. From your wife, from Jessica, from Marcus, from a shop owner across town who became a mentor. From an online community of independent shop owners who trade advice and commiserate at all hours. The lone wolf mechanic who does everything himself is the mechanic who burns out. The one who builds a team and leans on it is the one who lasts. It is now 26 months since you opened. The shop is running at 7 bays. Revenue is on track for $1.6 million this year. You have 6 technicians, a service advisor, a part-time bookkeeper, and a shop foreman. Marcus, promoted 6 months ago with a pay bump to $33 per hour, plus his profit-sharing bonus. Your days look different now. You arrive at 7, review the day's schedule with Jessica and Marcus, handle any escalated customer situations, and spend most of your morning on business development, marketing, vendor negotiations, fleet account management, and financial planning. You're in the bay maybe 2 hours a day, usually for complex diagnostics that mark as flags for a second opinion. You're thinking about what comes next. The options are real now. Scale this location further. You could add specialty services, transmission repair, diesel work, performance tuning. Each one requires specialized equipment and training, but opens a new revenue stream. Open a second location. The model is proven. The systems are documented. Marcus could run the new shop's technical operation. The capital requirement would be similar to your first build-out, $250,000 to $300,000. But this time, you would have a track record and cash flow to support the financing. Add tire sales. Tires hold 31.7% of the U.S. automotive service market. You currently refer tire work to a tire shop down the street. If you brought that in-house, it could add $200,000 to $300,000 in annual revenue. The equipment investment is about $35,000 for a good tire machine and balancer. Build an EV service center. The out-of-warranty EV wave is approaching. A dedicated EV bay with full high-voltage capability could position you as the go-to independent EV service provider in your metro area. First mover advantage in a market where only 3% of techs are qualified. You do not have to decide today. That is the luxury of having built something sustainable. The business is generating cash, the team is strong, and the market is growing. For the first time since you signed that lease, you feel like you have options instead of obligations. There is one more thing about where the industry is headed that you think about late at night, after the shop is closed and you're driving home. The independent auto repair shop is not just surviving in 2026. It is positioned for a golden era. Here is why. The dealership model is under pressure. Dealerships make their real money on new car sales and financing. Service departments are often understaffed and overpriced. As cars become more reliable and new car sales cycles lengthen, dealerships are being forced to cut costs, which means longer wait times and more turnover in their service bays. At the same time, the independent aftermarket is getting better. Better diagnostic tools, better parts availability, better training programs. The gap between what a dealership technician can do and what a well-equipped independent technician can do has narrowed dramatically. In many cases, the independent is better because they see a wider variety of vehicles, because they are incentivized by quality rather than volume, and because their relationship with the customer is personal, not transactional. The market share numbers reflect this shift. Independent repair shops and small chains now service the majority of out-of-warranty vehicles in America. The trend is accelerating. Every year, more car owners discover that the independent shop down the street can do the same work as the dealer for 30 to 40% less, with a more personal experience and often a faster turnaround. If you are building an independent shop right now, you are building into a tailwind. The question is not whether the demand will be there. The question is whether you will be ready for it. If you could go back to that kitchen table, the legal pad, the laptop, the $180,000 estimate that was already wrong, what would you say? Learn accounting before you learn alignment. The number of shop owners who fail not because they cannot fix cars, but because they cannot read a financial statement is staggering. Take a basic small business accounting course. Learn what gross margin means. Learn what cash flow means. Learn the difference between revenue and profit, because that gap is where businesses die. Hire a service advisor before you hire a second technician. Your best paying activity is not turning wrenches. It is communicating with customers. You cannot do both at the same time, and trying to will cost you money on both sides. Your first terrible month does not predict your 12th. The growth curve in auto repair is slow and then sudden. You will spend 6 months wondering if you made a mistake, and then you will spend 6 months wondering why you did not do this sooner. Every complaint is a gift wrapped in sandpaper. The customers who tell you what went wrong are the ones who save you from the customers who just never come back. The physical and emotional toll is real. Get a doctor. Get a therapist if you need one. Get a mentor who has been where you are. Do not try to be tough about it. Tough shop owners close. Smart shop owners ask for help. The industry is not dying. It is changing. The $211 billion US automotive service market is growing at 5.9% per year. The average car is getting older, not newer. The demand for honest, competent, reasonably priced auto repair is not going away. It is growing. And if you're willing to do the work, not just the mechanical work, but the business work, there is a very good living waiting on the other side. You started with $247,000 in startup costs. Over 26 months, here is where you stand. Revenue trailing 12 months, $1.42 million. Gross profit, $738,000. 52% margin, parts at 35%, labor grossing 68%. Operating expenses, $539,000. Payroll, rent, insurance, marketing, technology, supplies, loan payments. Net profit, $199,000. 14% net margin, above the industry average of 6 to 10%, below the top performers at 20% plus. Cash in the bank, $84,000, up from $4,200 in the dark days of month 9. Debt remaining, $149,000 on the original SBA loan. Equipment financing of $38,000 on the Hunter alignment system. Total debt, $187,000. Business valuation, conservative estimate, 2.5 times net profit plus equipment, $580,000. Your personal income from the business, $142,000 in salary, plus the remainder distributed as owner draws. Total compensation, approximately $185,000 per year. At the dealership, you made $68,000 per year and had no equity. That is the story. Not a fairy tale, not a guaranteed outcome, not something that happens to everyone who opens a shop. But it is real. It is achievable. And it starts with one mechanic who decided that fixing other people's cars was not the same as building something of his own. The auto repair industry in 2026 is not what it was 20 years ago. The cars are more complex. The technology is more sophisticated. The customers are more informed, or at least they think they are, which is sometimes worse. The regulatory environment is tighter. The labor pool is shallower. But the fundamentals have not changed. Cars break. People need them fixed. Trust is the currency. And there are 290 million registered vehicles on American roads, with an average age of 12.8 years, needing more maintenance and repair with every passing year. The $211 billion market is growing at 5.9% annually. The South leads with nearly 35% of the market, driven by high vehicle ownership and population growth. The mechanical repair and maintenance segment alone holds a 42.7% revenue share. And here is the number that matters most. The failure rate for independent auto repair shops is real. Roughly 20% close within the first 2 years, and another 30% within 5 years. You could have been one of them. Several times you almost were. But you were not, because you learned to run a business, not just fix cars. Because you hired people who were better than you at things you were bad at. Because you treated every customer like they were doing you a favor by walking through the door. Because they were. And because on the worst days, when the reviews were bad, and the techs were threatening to leave, and the equipment was breaking, and the bills were piling up, you remembered why you started. To build something honest in an industry that needs more of it. Let me give you one last look at what a normal day looks like now, in year 3. Because it is so different from year 1 that it almost feels like a different job. 6:45 a.m. You pull into the parking lot. Marcus's truck is already there. He gets in at 6:30 to review the schedule and pre-stage parts for the day's appointments. The shop is clean from last night. The compressor is already up to pressure. 2 of the 6 bays have cars that were left overnight for morning pickups. 7 a.m. Morning huddle. You, Marcus, and Jessica stand in the shop for 5 minutes. Jessica reviews the day's appointments. 18 cars scheduled, 2 walk-in slots reserved. Marcus assigns technicians to bays based on the work type and each tech's specialties. You flag 2 cars that need your personal attention. A 2020 BMW 330i with an intermittent electrical draw, and a 2018 Duramax diesel with a turbo whistle that the customer has been chasing for months. 7:15 a.m. The first customers arrive. Jessica greets them by name. She knows their cars, their service history, their preferences. Mr. Nguyen always wants his oil change done while he waits. Mrs. Calloway prefers to drop off and get a ride from her husband. The college kid with the 2013 Civic needs a quote broken into "must do now" and "can wait until next paycheck." 8 a.m. to noon. The bays are humming. Marcus is running a front-end rebuild on a Tacoma, ball joints, tie rods, and an alignment. 2 of your techs are handling bread and butter work, brakes, oil changes, a water pump. Your entry-level tech is doing his first alternator replacement under the supervision of your mid-level guy, and you are in Bay 7 with the BMW, tracing a parasitic draw with an amp clamp and a lot of patience. Noon. Lunch. Your techs eat in the break room you added during the expansion. You eat at your desk while reviewing the morning's numbers in your shop management dashboard. Car count: 9 completed, 9 remaining. Average repair order so far today, $512. Parts margin, 41%. Labor efficiency, 88%. All green. 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Afternoon push. The walk-in slots fill up. Jessica handles a customer complaint about a slow leak in a tire you patched last week. You repatch it at no charge, 5 minutes of goodwill. Marcus finishes the Tacoma and does the alignment on the new Hunter machine. You crack the Duramax turbo mystery, a boost leak at the intercooler boot, invisible until you pressurize the system with a smoke machine. The customer is thrilled. He has been to 2 other shops with this problem. Neither one found it. 5:30 p.m. The last car rolls out. The techs clean their bays. Tools go back in the boxes. The air hose gets coiled. Marcus does a final walkthrough and signs off on the quality checklist for every car that went out today. 6 p.m. You lock the door. The parking lot is empty except for your truck and the overnight drop-offs. You sit in your truck for a moment and look at the building. The sign does not flicker anymore. You replaced it with LED in month 14. The parking lot potholes are filled. The building looks like a real business. Because it is one. You drive home. You are tired, but not destroyed. Your back aches, but it is the ache of a man who worked, not the ache of a man who is breaking down. You will be home for dinner. You will see your daughter before bedtime. You will sleep without checking your bank account first. This is what the other side looks like. Not every day. Some days the compressor breaks, a tech calls in sick, and 3 customers complain about the same invoice. But most days look like this: productive, manageable, yours. The shop is yours. The bays are full. The phone is ringing. There is a 2019 Toyota Tacoma in Bay 3 with a ticking noise that nobody can figure out. Marcus thinks it is an exhaust manifold crack. You think it is a collapsed lifter. You grab your stethoscope, the real medical-grade one that cost you $8 at a garage sale, and head out to the bay. Because at the end of the day, after all the spreadsheets and staffing decisions and Google reviews and equipment purchases, you are still a mechanic, and there is a car that needs fixing. The lift goes up. The noise gets louder. You press the stethoscope to the valve cover, and there it is, a rhythmic tick, slightly faster than idle speed, coming from cylinder 4. Collapsed lifter, you are right. You smile, not because you won the bet with Marcus, though you will collect on that later, because for one quiet moment, with oil on your hands and the smell of exhaust in the air, and the mechanical tick, 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 telling you exactly where the problem is, you remember why you walked away from the dealership, why you signed that lease when you were not sure, why you ate peanut butter sandwiches for 2 months, why you stayed when everything said quit. This feeling, the satisfaction of hearing a problem, understanding it, and knowing you can fix it. The rest of the business, the revenue, the employees, the expansion plans, the $1.4 million, that is what you built around this feeling. But this feeling is the foundation. You pull up the repair order on the tablet. You start writing the estimate. Lifter replacement, cylinder 4, parts and labor. You know the exact cost, the exact time, the exact procedure. You are the owner of an auto repair shop, and that is your entire business.